everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Discover NSCC session. My name's Megan McDonald. I'm one of the recruitment coordinators here at the college, and I'm excited to be able to tell you some information today. The goal of today's session is to share details about programs, some application kind of procedures, and I'm also going to take you through our website to show you a few things that I think are helpful for you to know. So as we're going through today's session, there will be opportunities for you to ask questions, and I really hope that you get everything you're curious about figured out today. So with today's session, what I'd like to begin with is a couple of important acknowledgements. Let's begin with a land acknowledgement. NSCC is located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded territory and traditional homeland of the Mi'kmaq Nation. Our relationship is based on a series of peace and friendship treaties between the Mi'kmaq Nation and the Crown dating back to 1725. As treaty beneficiaries, we recognize that we're all treaty people. Next, I have an African Nova Scotian recognition statement. NSCC recognizes the African Nova Scotians as a distinct group who arrived here 400 years ago. From that time on, they've contributed to the infrastructure and economic wealth of the towns and cities that they've helped to build, but from which they could not benefit. Let us learn more about how our respective communities were shaped by the historical contributions of African Nova Scotians to Mi'kma'ki. So with today's webinar, we are, of course, making this recording. You can see me. I'm going to be showing you some things on my screen. But for everyone who's watching from home, we want to be able to have you chime in. If you have any questions, anything you really want to find out the answers to, we've got a way for you to ask those questions. So your camera is off, your microphones are muted. We're going to remain that way throughout the session today. But we do have this chat function. So if you would like to put any questions into that question box, you're welcome to type in what you're curious about. I've got my colleague in the chat who will be answering those questions as we go through today. So starting right now, you're welcome to start popping those questions in. I will say that I can see there are quite a few attendees today. If by chance we aren't able to answer all of the questions that come in today, I really encourage you to reach out to us in recruitment. We've got our email address on the screen here, and I'll show it to you again at the end of the presentation. It's recruitment@nscc.ca. You're welcome to send us a question there, and we'll respond to you via email. So first off, important to note that we have so much going on at NSCC. There are over 140 programs across so many different areas of interest. So there is something for really nearly every kind of area of interest, every industry, whatever it is you're looking for. I encourage you to dive deeper on the website because we very likely have a program that's going to align with what you're looking for. We've got all of those kind of bigger categories of programs listed here on the screen. So everything from business to healthcare, creative programs, IT programs, marine, natural resources, upgrading, and more. So many different opportunities. And a little bit later on in the presentation, I'll head to the website and show you how to navigate through all of these sections to find what it is that you're looking for. We also, in addition to so many program options, have many campus options as well. So NSCC has 14 campus locations across the province of Nova Scotia, and that includes an online eCampus. So depending on the program that you're interested in, you'll see online that it may be offered at 1 or 2 or 3 or even 8 or 9 or 10 campuses, just depending on what the program is. Some programs have very specialized facilities. They may be offered at, say, only 1 or 2 locations. Others are offered nearly all across the province. And so when you're thinking about program choice, of course, what you're studying is typically paramount for folks, but you're also thinking about where you'd like to be, whether it's important to stay local to you, whether you're moving to a new location. Maybe you're looking for a program that's offered entirely online or in a blended format. We have options in all of those circumstances. So I'll show you on the website too how to find those details. So when we talk about post-secondary and skills upgrading training, there are so many fantastic options out there. Why do folks look at NSCC for their next steps? I think that a really big part of what we're doing at the college, which makes us unique and really appealing to students, is our graduate employment goals. So the programs at NSCC, the curriculum is designed to really prepare you as a learner for industry after graduation. We have great industry connections. Students have opportunities in many of our programs to get work experience before you graduate. And the faculty members who are teaching you in the classroom, they're coming from industry as well. So they've got great experience, great connections to share with you as a learner. Our class sizes are also quite small. So that means that you really get to know the folks in your class, you get great access to your faculty, but also any facilities, tools, technology, all of that's there for you. And the learning or teaching style at NSCC tends to be really hands-on, really practical. So the skills you're learning in the classroom with us or in the shop space, the studio space, those are all skills that you are going to be able to take and translate directly into your job after graduation. So kind of jumping ahead right now to just some application information, which is important to note, and then we'll talk a bit more about program stuff. I just wanted to highlight a few different things because rules are a little bit different depending on if you're a domestic applicant or an international applicant. So when we talk about domestic applicants, we're talking about folks who have either Canadian citizenship, permanent residency, or have refugee protected person status. This would be the category that you'd fall under, domestic students. When you're applying to NSCC, for most of our programs, you're looking at a $40 application fee. And know as well that for domestic students, generally speaking, we don't have an application deadline. You can apply really whenever you'd like through the year. There is an exception to this, which is a program called Medical Laboratory Technology, which does have a deadline every year of May 1st, but otherwise you don't have a deadline to adhere to. However, with the NSCC application process, we look at applications in the order that they've been received. So it's always going to be beneficial to apply as soon as you're ready to do so, so that your application is placed ahead in the queue of someone who applies after you do. So, no deadlines. However, it's always good to apply as soon as you're ready. A couple of notes for high school students. If you are a high school student in the O2 program, we have a special agreement with your teachers with the O2 program where you have a deadline, which is September 30th of grade 12. But that's just for the O2 learners. High school students in general are able to apply early. So high school students can apply as early as the first day of grade 11. So we have lots of high school students who apply in grade 11, lots who choose to apply in grade 12. It's really, we're just encouraging you to apply as soon as you're feeling ready to do so. And for everyone, tuition payments, once you've been accepted, you've secured your seat, those payments are due in August and January every year. Now for international applicants, you'd be considered an international applicant if you essentially don't fall into the category for domestic student. So that would mean that you do not have Canadian citizenship, permanent residency, or refugee protected person status. You might be in Canada or you might be in another country in the world. It really comes down to that immigration status. Your application fee is a little bit different. It's $100 and you do have a deadline. So this is big to highlight. Our deadline remains the same every year. It's April 1st. When we're looking ahead to September 2025 programs, you'd be looking at April 1st as your deadline. And that's same for any programs in January. Oh, I've noticed a typo on my slide here because we'd be looking at January 2026. Something to note, I'll change that for the next one. Note that if you do want to apply after that date, you need to have a valid study permit. And so that's just something that if you have one already, you can reach out to admissions team, send them an email with request to apply in the title, and we could potentially review your application after that deadline, but that's only for folks who have a study permit. The new rule this year is for applicants who are from Nigeria or from Ghana. We're working with an in-country partner to help field those applications and process them. So if you don't have a study permit and you're coming from one of those countries, I'll show you how to find this on the website, but we've got a couple of email addresses, one of which you'll need to reach out to just to get the ball rolling on your application. And when we're looking ahead to September 2025 admissions, you might be applying, whenever you're ready, of course, before the deadline. And we begin every year sending out acceptance letters to international students in January. So that's the January ahead of your program beginning. In this case, January 2025 for September 2025 program starts. And when you're going through the application process, you're going to see mention of our admissions team. These are my colleagues who field all of those application questions, but also process your documents. And they also help with the whole process all the way through. So they're the ones that you'd be sending documents to. So things like transcripts, language test results, if those are required, for example, those all get sent to documents@nscc.ca. And the team is super helpful if you have any questions about your own application. So we've got their email address here on screen, admissions@nscc.ca, and also I can see some the phone number is here as well. So you're welcome to give them a call. They're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So a note about tuition fees, and our costs for programs are always listed on our website, and there you'll be able to see some additional kinds of fees and program specific costs for the program that you're interested in, but wanted to just highlight some costs quickly here so you have an idea of what things look like. We have separate costs for both domestic students and international students. So for domestic student tuition, you would be looking at $3,620 a year for most of our programs. We have some graduate certificate programs that have a tuition cost of $5,540, and then a couple of additional costs here depending on the program you're looking at. Know that on top of this, there would be potentially things like textbooks, health insurance, student fees. There might be some special say different types of like safety gear, for example, depending on the program you're looking at, uniforms, equipment, tools, which really vary program to program. But this will give you an idea of those base costs. Another thing to note is that these costs are announced every year in the late spring ahead of the coming year. So the tuition rates that are on screen right now are for the 2024-2025 academic year. If any changes are made for future intakes, then you'll see that update on our website. And then the same goes for international students. So we've got for our programs one base tuition line for everyone, which would be $11,690 per year of the program. So with that per year, note that if you're taking a program that's say 2 years long, then you would be looking at that amount per each year of study. So you'd be timesing it by 2. And just like with domestic costs, there are a breakdown of additional fees, program costs, supplies, materials, things like that on our website under program pages. So you can check things out there. Note though that we have lots of different support for students. We as an organization give out over $3 million in awards each year to students. Some of these are scholarships, meaning that we're looking at your grades. Others are bursaries, other types of awards where we're not looking at grades, we're looking really more at financial need, lived experience, your say volunteer experience, excitement for your program, things like that. So these are awards that I would encourage you to start looking at in the spring and in the fall, right up until you graduate, because you are generally able to apply for awards twice a year. Now let's just navigate away from this section for a moment, and I want to go to our website together because there are some things that I want to show you. So when we're here at nscc.ca, there are a few different ways to look up programs. One way is you can head to our blue taskbar here and look at the program section. So I'm just going to scroll down here to the section that says programs. And then it brings me to this chart for 2025-2026 programs. So this allows me to search a number of different ways. I can always, of course, type in a keyword. It's got some suggestions here for me. I could look for programs that are full-time or part-time, depending on what my interest is. You can also search by area of interest. So when we're talking about those 140 plus programs and all of the different industries that they train students for, these are the industries. So you'll see there's a full list here. And if we click on one, for example, let's click on business. I'm going to click search. This brings me to this section where you can see all of the programs that we have that fall under that business heading. So if we click on one, for example, let's click on administrative professional, we're going to be brought to a program page. So all of our programs have a page that look like this, just different information, of course, subbed in depending on the program. So it's going to let you know when a program begins every year. Most of our programs, with some exception, generally start in September each year only. We do have sometimes some other intakes like January, for example, for a handful of our programs, but the majority of options we're looking at September only. It's also going to let you know how long a program typically takes to finish. Here's a 1-year program, for example. and then the credential that you'd receive when you graduate. We also have apply now buttons everywhere, but we'll come back to that in a moment. When I scroll down a little more, it lets me know an overview of the program. So this is going to give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of how things you're learning, how you're spending time in the classroom. It's also helpful if you're interested to see if the program you're curious about includes work experience. We have a number of different types of work experience that are built into programs here at the college. Many of them would be a general 5-week work experience. So you can see that that's outlined here. Some other programs that are longer have an optional co-op that you can do in the summertime. Our healthcare related programs would have clinical hours that are completed. So you'll find more details about that on this section of the page. In the next tab, locations and availability, we've got a list of all of the campuses and deliveries that are available for this program. So every program is different, and this page will look different for each different program you're looking at. So you can see here under campus, for example, this program is offered at our Burridge campus in Yarmouth. The delivery at that location is full-time, which means it's in person. And with that distributed delivery, this is unique. It means that you're actually in one location and you're connected via video link to your faculty who are at another location. So it means that you're meeting students from 2 different campuses and you're turned into live classes on our campus site, but it doesn't mean everyone in the class is in the same place. So it's one of those unique delivery methods that you have that you'll see here. And currently, as of today, when we're recording this webinar, we have seats available. Like the GED, or we have a test that we can offer folks for free called the TOES test that students are able to write free of charge in order to meet the requirements. We've also got a tuition section here. So those numbers that I was talking about earlier, they're all here. And if we just scroll down to this section that says tuition fees and program costs, you can see there are a number of links here. So this is where you'll find the information about any additional costs that you need to consider. So for example, if I click on just this first one, it said administrative professional, this is just the general full-time program. If I click on this, I can see it brings me to a chart with all of those costs. So there are those baseline tuition costs that we were looking at in the earlier slide, but then everything else that you need to consider. So things like health and dental care, a number of different student fees. If there are textbooks for a program, they'll be here. And then if there are any other additional program costs, and these look really different depending on the program and the needs that you'll have as a student, as a learner. So you'll see then a total here for those program costs, and then a total estimated cost for the program here. It's important to note that these additional program costs, these aren't costs that are billed to you as tuition would be. These are costs that we're asking you as a student to budget for, account for, in case you do need to purchase any of these things. In some cases, for example, a student may already have a calculator. They won't need to buy another one if that works for them. And same with a computer. So these are here just in case you were starting from scratch, needing to buy everything new. That's why we have these estimates here for you. So let's hop back for a second to our previous screen. There's another tab here called Career and Future Study. So this is where you'd see, where you could end up working should you finish this program? And the next is courses. So this is where you'll see all of the classes that you'd be taking in this program. So this gives you an idea of what you can expect in terms of your day-to-day learning. So that's the program page. Let's go back to our program section just to search another way. So another way that can be really helpful is by campus. If you have a particular place that you would like to study, then this could be a really good way to just narrow in on those options. So for example, let's go to our Lunenburg campus. I'm going to hit search. And then these are all of the programs that are being offered at this location. So we're able to see that full list. And so if we look at, for example, let's click on practical nursing. Here's another program page. I can see things look a little bit different here than they did on administrative professional. For example, I can see that there are 2 intakes for this program, January and September. The program's longer, it's 2 years, and it's a diploma. If I go to the overview section, it's talking about that clinical placement. So that's a different type of work placement that we have for our healthcare programs. Locations and availability. I see some wait lists here, and some also programs with seats available. What's a little bit of some information about our wait list, which I think is good for you to know, is that if you're a domestic applicant and you apply to, for example, the Ivany campus in Dartmouth here, where we can see there's a wait list happening, then as long as you meet the admission requirements, we're going to place you on that wait list until we can offer you a seat, which could be a few months, it could be a year, really just until we get through that wait list and there's a seat available for you. You're going to stay on the wait list. If you're an international student, our rules this year are changing around wait lists for you. So you'll be able to remain on a wait list just for this intake, which in this case would be September 2025. Once that's filled and our international deadline is passed, you'll be removed from the wait list and you'd need to apply again next year. So if you're an international student, I would encourage you to consider applying to campuses and programs that do not have a wait list. That would give you the best chance at a program seat. So for example, I'm highlighting a couple of options here that right now, as of today, show that they have seats available, but make sure that you're always checking back to our website for the most up-to-date information. Another section that's going to look different depending on the program are the admission requirements. So you can see this section is longer. It looks different than what we saw with administrative professional. So I can see some of it looks the same. I can see that we need folks who want to take practical nursing to have completed high school or equivalent, but then we have some specific classes that we need to see, including grade 12 academic English, math, and then a couple of sciences. So these are the courses you need to have on your transcript in order to qualify for the program. I can also see we've got down here some program requirements. Some of our programs do list requirements in this section, and these are important to note that you'll need to meet them by the time classes are beginning. Usually program requirements are important for placements out in the field. So for example, here we're looking for a criminal record check. This isn't something that you need to send us when you're applying. You really just need to focus on the admission requirements section when you're applying. But once you've been accepted, then we're going to come and ask for the program requirements. So step 1 is simply this admission requirements section. We do have a number of options for academic upgrading. So for example, if you were wanting to take a program like this one, where we're asking for particular academic English, math, and science courses, if you don't have all of those courses from your high school experience, we have a program, for example, Academic and Career Connections, and we have a number of others as well that you can explore for getting those credits that you need. Just email us in recruitment and we can help walk you through all of those options. Another one here that's important to highlight is that if you're an international student or if you're a domestic student whose education was outside of Canada, this is a link you're going to want to see. If I click on View Document and Language Requirements by Country, then it's going to take me to a page where I can look up the country where, say, I would have studied. I'm going to see from a high school document perspective what kind of documents are required, and then it's also going to let me know if language testing is required. So if you are looking at your country, you're seeing language testing is required. That would either mean that you would have to submit language test results, or if you attended a school in Canada in the past for at least a year, then typically you don't need language test results. You're able to send us those transcripts. But send us an email to admissions or recruitment if you have questions about that. We can help. In terms of language requirements, they're all listed here. and you can see we have a number of different tests that we accept. We also have some relationships with language schools if you wanted to come and do an English language training program before coming to study with us. Another thing to look at is applying. We've got these apply now buttons everywhere on the website. They all bring you to the same page, which looks like this, where you are presented with two different options. So if you are a Canadian, either citizen, permanent resident, have protected person refugee status, we're going to look at this section, Canadian and permanent residents. So this is where it's going to let you know all of the step-by-step sections you need to go through in order to apply. So they're really just saying, make sure you know what programs you're interested in, because on your application, you can choose one and possibly, if you'd like, an extra backup number 2 option for programs and campuses. It's also going to let you know what the fees are, where you need to look at for the documents you require. And then when you're feeling ready, you click this Apply Now button. Then it's going to take you to this section where you would fill out the section on the left as a new user. So you would create a username, password, use your email address, and then you go through our application. It asks for some pretty general information, your name, your address, your education history, and of course, what program or programs you're interested in. And then you'd pay your application fee right here in the portal. Now I'm going to skip back one more, because if you're an international applicant, there is just a couple of different steps you need to consider that might be a little bit different. So same kind of list of steps here, just links you should take a look at before you're ready to apply. And then this is the big one that you should take a note of. It's going to ask you to select your country here. And if you are coming from one of 2 countries that we're highlighting right now, which is either Ghana or Nigeria, if we select this, things will look a little bit different for you in the application process, because we're now using some in-country partners to help facilitate the application process. So in that case, we'd want you to send an email to the address listed here on screen. That way you would go through that avenue, and then the in-country partner would give you instructions for next steps. If we head back for a minute, if you pick a different country, for example, let's go to Austria, then it would take you right to our application portal. So it's only students from Nigeria and Ghana who are taking that in-country partner step. Other applicants are heading directly to our new user section here at the online application. There's also a link on this page about postgraduate work permits. So if you are an international student and you're curious about learning more about work permits or about study permits, co-op work permits, all of those bits of documentation that you're going to be thinking about should you come and study with us, you'll be able to find all of these details on this page. We actually have a whole international student subsection of our website. If you were curious about finding some more information about campuses, we have a campus section here on the main website on our main page here. So if you go to campuses, you're able to check on every single location. Let's go to Sydney Waterfront. This is our newest campus. It's just opened September 2025. You're going to see some information about the campus. It's going to let you know a bit about the amenities here. And then another way to see what programs are offered, you're able to click on this button, which says campus programs, and it will give you a full list of everything that you could consider studying. So there you go. That's how, quick little tutorial about how you're able to find those details on our website. One more thing I'll show you before we have some time for questions and sign off today. I'm just going to click on, or search rather, in the search bar, awards, because we have lots of different awards here. I'm going to go, in this case, I'm going to go to this 3rd section, which says student awards, scholarships, and bursaries. So we have, as I mentioned before, over $3 million in awards that are offered to students every year. And there are different types of supports. And this is in addition to, say, getting a provincial student loan, for example, if you're a domestic student. And then we've got 2 types of awards. We do have some awards that prospective students can apply for. That means that you're able to apply for an award before you apply to a program at NSCC. So check out that link, see if you qualify for any of those. And then the majority of our awards are for current students and confirmed applicants. So people who have applied to NSCC and been accepted. That's where you'll find more details here. We have an award portal that folks are able to log into. You can see here, view and apply for student awards. Once you have been accepted to NSCC and secured your seat, then you'll end up with a login that you can use to go in and take a look. And our awards, we kind of have 2 seasons every year. There's an award season in the spring and award season in the fall. And at that time, you'll see a full list of everything that's available. All right, so let's hop back here to the slide deck for a moment, because I have a couple more things that I want to show you before we sign off today. So in addition to those awards and those financial supports that we have at NSCC, we have a full suite of supports from student services. So every student has a student services advisor that they're able to connect with. We have an additional cultural specific supports for Indigenous students, for Black students. We have international student services advisors as well. So lots of supports on that front. We also have an accessibility services team. So if there are any types of supports, excuse me, that you need in the classroom. Maybe these are supports that you've had in previous education experiences, maybe not, but accessibility services will be able to help get all of those in place even before you begin classes with us. And we have tutoring, so there's lots of academic supports, and also lots of fun things that are happening on campus. There are different events, there are clubs, things that you can join to get active with your peers. We also have a bunch of webinar recordings that are on our website, as well as upcoming live webinars. So I know you've been to this page before because you are watching this webinar now, but if you feel like heading back later on, you can take a look at our big library of program-specific webinars that we've already recorded. Oftentimes we have faculty in those webinars, so they give some really great information about what you can expect in the program that you're interested in. But we also do webinars about awards. We talk about, lots of different opportunities that happen here at NSCC. So take a look there and you can register or watch a recording. Now, I know that we have been busy in the chat today, sending in questions and getting those answered, and I really appreciate you taking that time to send those questions in. We do have our recruitment email address here on screen. So if you have any questions after today's session that you would like to send, please do. You can forward them to recruitment. Myself and the rest of the recruitment team will be fielding all of those emails, so feel free to send them in. And I know that there are still a few more questions in the chat that we haven't had a chance to answer yet. So I'm going to say goodbye, but I'm going to leave our webinar running for a moment so that I can hop into that chat as well and continue answering questions as they come in. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Please keep in touch. If there's anything we can help with in recruitment, just send us an email. I'll help you out. Thanks. Have a great day.